Shannon Curtis.
Do you know my voice? Can you hear beneath the noise? I come quietly, like in your sleep. Come away. I've known you for years, since you heard with younger ears. No, I never left my same request. Come away, come away. If you come, I cannot promise you'll be safe. But if you come, I'll be the voice guiding your way. And if you come, the world will open like the daybreak. Come away, come away. Ooh, yes, there will be danger on which the strength of love is measured. You will praise the path when we plant our flag. Come away, come away. If you come, I cannot promise you'll be safe. But if you come, I'll be the voice guiding your way. And if you come, the world will open like the daybreak. Come away, come away. So the world's on fire, but still here we are, holding on rise. Grieving mothers cry. We do not stand by, drowning in our fate. Take your one hot life, make it burn so bright. Fire with fire, we fight. We're a roaring flame. No more waiting for something to happen. We are making it every day. No more praying for something to save us. We are burning to light the way. So the world's on fire, but still here we are, holding open hearts to the roaring flame. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I can't tell you, Steve and Paige, you can't make a girl cry before she comes out to perform. That's just not fair. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. Thank you all for being here. I'm Shannon Curtis. Hi. It's so nice to see you. I'm here today with my husband, Jamie. Hi, sweetie. Yeah, thank you. We are here on what is the last show of a very long touring season that began in June. And I really just can't, in my wildest imagination, think of a place that I would rather be than in Seattle with this room full of open hearts. I am just so honored and thrilled that you all are here. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. We've been on this epic journey this summer in celebration of a record that we put out in June called Creationism, which I think when I announced that album title last spring, it raised a few eyebrows. So I want to tell you what it means to me and what the songs are all about. It's about this basic idea. I've come to believe that all of us together are constantly, collaboratively creating the world that we live in, moment by moment, word by word, action by action. All of these things get stitched together to create the fabric of the experience that we're sharing with each other. And if that's the case, I say, let's make something beautiful together. Yeah? And it's every moment that counts in that puzzle, right? It's the small moments and the big moments. The small moments like, let's say you've been having a cruddy day, but you decide anyway to ask the gal behind the grocery store check stand how she's doing. You know, that's a small moment that you have the power to make beautiful for you and someone else. And it's the big moments too, which I think sometimes can feel more difficult to bring into creation. You know, those parts of our lives that are the big life decisions, the stuff that takes up a lot of space, the stuff we care really deeply about. I think sometimes it can feel more difficult or even more scary to bring those things into reality because we care so much. These are the things for which our hearts are on fire, and so it is scary. And on that topic, I want to share with you that one of those big pieces for me personally is this whole music thing that I do. Every time I sit down at this piano, whether we are back home in Los Angeles and I'm about to write a song, or Just a few minutes ago when I walked out on this stage for today's show, every time I sit down, there's this moment during which I'm immobilized by this battle that goes on inside my head. And it starts with a voice that tells me things like, "You're not good enough for this." And do you honestly think anyone's gonna care about what you have to say? And who do you think you are for even trying? Does this sound familiar to anyone else? Yeah. I know that I'm not alone. I've talked with so many other artists who experience this, but it's not just artists. It's people who have started their own businesses, people who've decided to go back to school, people who've had the audacity to raise children. You brave souls, you brave souls. People who've started a nonprofit organization, people who've picked up a guitar or taken guitar lessons for the first time, or written that book they thought they always might write, or run for political office, or coach their kids' Little League team. All these different things that we have burning desires for, that it is sometimes really difficult to take that first or second step toward making happen because of that voice that tells us that we shouldn't or that we can't. But here's the thing. I think that some of the most important work that we do in our time on this planet is work that starts with us having to overcome that kind of self-doubt. And the reason I think it's so important is this. When I get to witness somebody else blow past their own fear to go, begin, create something that they want to see in their lives or something that they want to see in the world, I get inspired. They give me the kind of courage to want to go home and get over my own fears and try something new. It's contagious. My mom has this saying that she's shared with me over the years whenever I've faced something that feels risky. She says, "Do it scared." So this song is for all of you here who have gone, begun, created, and you've done it scared. This is Who Do You Think You Are? Blank page, talking back at me. Hey girl, you've got some audacity. White slate, an accusation. Who gave you permission? And who do you think you are? Just who do you think you are? I'm just a soul searching for grace in a photograph in the clay, in a poem in the paint, in a stone on a stage. These hands perform an act of love with every pen stroke, every brush. That's all I am, and that's enough. All I am, and that's enough. Lights up, the shadows mock my worth. Who says they will care about your words? Face flushed, the fire down deep confronts the doubt that would drown me. Who do you think you are? Just who do you think you are? I'm just a soul searching for grace in a photograph I'm just a soul searching for grace in a photograph in the clay, in a poem in the paint, in a stone on a stage. These hands perform an act of love with every pen stroke, every brush. That's all I am, and that's enough. All I am, and that's all I own on the lawn outside my best friend's house. All I was sold for ones in my pocket. One by one, here and gone, the scene is emptied out. All that I said I wanted, emptied out. Windows down, driving south, trailing the casualties. Broken hearts, razor sharp on the pavement. Warning girl on the run from someone else's dreams. I can save me or save them. I'm so sorry. And so I come to the end of a page. This story's not done, and in my hand there's a pen to write it. There's only one way to find out what comes next. Our heroine takes a pen and she writes it. Boxes high, brand new life. It's up to me to fill. No one left here to ask for permission. Do or die on a wire, a twisted kind of thrill. Traded predestination for brazen will. And so I come to the end of a page. This story's not done, and in my hand there's a pen to write it. There's only one way to find out what comes next. Our heroine takes her pen and she writes it. Is this a tragedy? Satiric comedy, whatever, it's up to me. It's still a mystery, this non-fiction fantasy. Maybe it's a great love story. And so I come to the end of a page. This story's not done, and in my hand there's a pen to write it. There's only one way to find out what comes next. Our heroine takes her pen and she writes it. Is this a tragedy? Satiric comedy, whatever, it's up to me. Is this a tragedy? Satiric comedy, whatever, it's up to me. Well, I've got a good old-fashioned love song for you next. Yay. I used to write a lot of love songs, but then I guess I got interested in some other stuff. But I wrote one love song for this new record, and this is it. And this song was written on Valentine's Day this year. Aww. Except for that Jamie and I don't actually celebrate Valentine's Day. Aww. It's not that we're haters. It's my mom's favorite holiday, so I will always call her on Valentine's Day. We just happen to agree with each other that we don't need a holiday to express our undying love and affection for one another. Nonetheless, this song was written on February 14th this year. But I think that if what Valentine's Day represents for a lot of people is the big proclamations or the grand gestures of love and adoration, I think this song is actually about an opposite sort of idea. It's about all of the smaller, more seemingly insignificant moments that, when you put them all together, are actually what make a life. Moments like when we've just hung some pictures in our hallway and we just take a second to stand back and admire our work. Moments like when I'm cooking dinner in our kitchen, and as he passes through the room, Jamie's hand just brushes across the back of my shoulders. Moments like this one, which is one of my favorites. I keep this one like a little snapshot in my mind. And in the snapshot, I'm sitting on my couch, and maybe I have a book to read or some work to do on my laptop, but I look up and I can see in the adjacent room where our studio is, and he's in there, and he's got his headphones on, and he's hunkered down, and I can clearly see that he is pouring every ounce of his heart and soul into whatever music project he's working on. That's one of my favorites. But it's also the moments like when we're both sitting on that same couch and we're just trying to figure out how we're going to make it through a tough month. Or when we're riding in the car together and one of us is searching for the words to describe a fear that we're feeling. And the moments like when we're sharing a gigantic banana split. And we're laughing about jokes that only the two of us would understand. These are all little moments, but you put them all together, and that's what makes up our little life. You and I made this moment, stacked it high on the apex of the ones that came before it. A little to the left, a little more, that's just right. Step back, admire the work we've done. Your hand brushes mine, a little thrisp is steady across my face into a smile. You and I made this moment, opposite sides of a room, standing off in a stare. Even if I found the words, could you comprehend them? It's you, I know your face, but there is a stranger in the place of the one who knows my heart best. We never guessed that it would be this hard. We always said it's you and me against the odds. I fear gaining an edge. Best promises are put to the test. Am I with you? Am I with you? Who is this monster with bitter words spat from her lips? You're not the enemy. How did I let it get to this? It's you, the same one I picked, 'cause you understood like no one else did. Forgive me as I forget. We never guessed that it would be this hard. We always said it's you and me against the odds. Too far out on a ledge. Reach for my hand, let's walk it back in. I am with you. I am with you. Love is a tender thing, for worse or for better. It can heal us where it hurts. We never guessed that it would be this hard. We always said it's you and me against the odds. Our new old promises pulled from the wreck, spoken again. I am with you. I am with you. Come sit right here, tell me everything. Start from the beginning. Let it all pour out. I will catch your story in my wings. This is the beginning of all that we cry out for you. Sing me, sing you. We are found. I know you live all alone in a cold and dark room. I know you don't see a way out. You're stuck there for good. I know how it feels. I've lived there too. Shadows only catch us from behind. Let's turn and face them. Switch on the light. Never mind the cracks you try and hide. I wanna see them that would make you shine. glow from within scatters light through the night. I know you go through the motions, still you can't move. I know you can see a window, but you can't break through. I know how it feels. I've been there too. Yeah, me too. And it means that you're not alone, and the secrets have all been told, and I see you're beautiful. I know. Well, that's a song called I Know. A+, everybody. That was the first song that we released in 2015 in advance of the record we put out that year called Connections. It was actually the first song that I wrote for that record, too. The song, and then really that whole album after it, came out of this deep dive exploration that I made a couple years ago into the topic of empathy. Around that same time, I discovered the work of Brené Brown, on whom I've developed a serious woman crush in the meantime. And she's a researcher and a storyteller. She researches things like empathy and vulnerability and how these things affect our human condition and how they affect the relationships and the connections that we make with each other. And I learned so much from her work, and a lot of that song and that album were inspired by those kinds of ideas. Brené Brown has an interesting something to say about the distinction between empathy and sympathy. Words that oftentimes get used interchangeably but are in fact really different. She says that sympathy is a disconnected activity. It's something that doesn't really have to involve your heart. You know, you can feel sorry for somebody without really feeling much of anything. It's like that. But empathy is very different. Empathy requires that you get down in the hole with somebody. Even if you haven't experienced the exact circumstance that they're walking through, it requires that you go to a place in your own heart, in your own experience, where you can access a feeling that enables you to look that person in the eye and say, I understand you. And that can be uncomfortable. It can downright hurt to go to that place. But the reward that we get for going there is that that's how we make the kind of genuine and deep connections with each other that we need to sustain our lives. And so I never expected that my work as a songwriter would ever have anything to do with empathy. And yeah, this is something I've discovered has become a rather large part of what I do, particularly in this one area of my work where I write personal songs for people. And these are songs that people hire me to write and record for them. Oftentimes they use them as a gift for a loved one. Sometimes it's about telling some part of somebody's story in a unique kind of way. But every time I do one of these projects, it's about me writing a song to express somebody else's heart for someone in their life or some situation in their life. So I have to step into their shoes for a little while and see the world from their perspective. And I think that exercises my empathy muscle. But this next song that I want to do for you is probably the most radical example of songwriting as an exercise in empathy that I've ever been confronted with. This is a song called 10,000 Blue Stars. And I wrote the song for a woman named Christy. And I never met Christy in person. I just spoke with her one time on the phone. It was on a day off on our tour in 2015. We happened to be in Seattle, Washington that day when I spoke with her. Christy had been introduced to my music through my friend Margaret, who is a radio news reporter in Los Angeles. And Margaret met her when she interviewed her for a story that she did about the end-of-life advocacy work that Christy was doing, as she was reaching the end of her treatment options for stage 4 lung cancer. And so when I spoke with Christy 2 summers ago, she was in the process of preparing a number of things that she was going to leave for her 21-year-old daughter, to whom she'd been a single mom her entire life. She told me that day about some of those things, like handwritten birthday cards for the next 30 years. Things like a shopping excursion that she was planning, where they were going to go try on wedding gowns together. Even though they weren't planning a wedding, they just wanted to share that experience with each other. And one of those things was also going to be a song that it was going to be my job to write for Christy as a lasting expression of her heart for her daughter. So you can probably imagine the immense responsibility that I felt to do Christy justice. And I knew that in order to do my job, I was gonna have to get down in the hole with Christy. And I've never been through anything like what she was walking through 2 summers ago. I've never even been a mom. So she had a lot to teach me. And I'm not gonna lie, it was uncomfortable and profoundly sad to go to that place in my heart where I could make a genuine connection with her. But the reward that I got for going there was so much greater. I had the immense privilege of making a connection with a woman who continues to inspire me every single day that I get to share her story with people about how hard she loved and about how full on she lived her life, even when she knew she didn't have much time left. I'm grateful every day that I got the chance to know her. I'm not sure what I was expecting when I got on the phone with her that day. I think that if I'm really honest about it, I was afraid to talk to her. But when she picked up the line, I heard this voice on the other end that sounded like she might as well be my best friend. She was so very much alive. And she was fun and funny and smart. She made me laugh out loud a number of times in our conversation. She spoke with so much joy about her daughter. And even over the phone line, she emanated an improbable amount of serenity, given what she was walking through. I'm so grateful that I got to know Christy. So she told me a bunch of things about her and her daughter that became the source material for their song. And one of the things that she shared with me that inspired the title of the song, 10,000 Blue Stars, was this saying that the two of them shared with each other. Whenever they would be out together, driving around, doing errands or whatever, if one of them would see something that brought them joy, like a shiny red VW convertible or a hillside full of daffodils, one of them would say to the other, "I love you more than 10,000 red VW convertibles. I love you more than 1 million yellow daffodils." This was their special thing. So I gave Christy her song, and she told me that she really loved it, but I never heard from her about when or where she gave it to her daughter. And then in February of this year, I stumbled across an article in People magazine who had also done a profile of Christy and her advocacy work. And I learned, reading that article, that she passed away in January of this year. At the end of that article, they also published a portion of a letter that she had written for her daughter. And she signed the end of that letter by saying, "Mommy loves you more than 10,000 blue stars," which is the title of their song. And I'd like to play it for you. Close my eyes, the final picture in my mind will be of you running to me, arms open wide. Your fearless sprint into the world, my beautiful, courageous girl, will take you where impossibilities defy. Remember Remember always, I love you more than 10,000 blue stars and more than 1,000,000 lights from afar. When you look into the night sky, the beam that brightens your eyes, it's me. I'll be the one helping way home. Your way home. There will come a day when seedling dreams will make their way up from the ground where hope and love have kept them safe. If, as they come into bloom, you're not sure what you're supposed to do, look up, breathe in, my girl, I'll be the rain. Remember always, remember always, I love you more than 10,000 blue stars and more than 1,000,000 lights from afar. When you look into the night sky, the beam that brightens your eyes, it's me. I'll be the one helping you find your way home. Your way home. And more than 1,000,000 lights from afar. Baby, look into the night sky, the beam that brightens your eyes, it's me. I'll help you find your way home. Your way home. light in the air. All the leaves will turn. It's out of my control and melt into the earth. I know it's natural, not like letting go. Lift me off the ground, 'cause I can't hold you down from where you're going. You're anti-gravity, and if I can't release, I'll end up floating nowhere. I don't wanna walk around in a town I forgot your name. I'll stand in streets and shout out. They can stare, call me insane. That's what I might do. Go out of all control. Me without a you is not natural, just like letting go. Lift me off the ground, 'cause I can't hold you down from where you're going. You're anti-gravity, and if I can't release, I'll end up floating nowhere. 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 Lift me off the ground, 'cause I can't hold you down from where you're going That's a song called Anti-Gravity. I wrote that song for our very dear friend Andrea, who was our neighbor for 6 years. She shared the other half of the duplex where we live down in South Pasadena, California. And in 2012, she lost her husband, and Jamie and I had the very great privilege of being her closest neighbor and a daily presence in her life in the time following that, and that's where that song came from. So when Andrea moved about 1.5 years ago, we were super bummed because we love her so much. But she moved to New York City, and she got her master's degree, and she's kicking butt and taking names. Happy to report she's doing really well. But we have some new neighbors now as a result of her moving, and our new neighbors are a mom and her 2 adopted boys, ages 5 and 9. I know, right? And you guys, we know what time it is every afternoon when school's out, and those boys appear in our front yard to play. And can I just tell you that the games that these 2 play in our front yard, they're extraordinarily stupid games. And I'm saying the word games, but really I ought to be saying game, because it's the same game every single day. And it goes something like this. They each have a stick, or a sword, or a lightsaber. Those totally qualify. There was the one day that Jamie noticed through the window that they had an actual machete. That was just the one day. No, they were fine. So they take their stick, and what they do is they whack each other with it repeatedly. And the day they had the machete, they were whacking a tree stump, and everybody was fine, thank God. But while they're whacking each other, they simultaneously holler out. Are you ready? Rah! Rah! And now, I want to hear you all. Ready? Here we go. Ready? Rah! Nicely done. You clearly have practice. Maybe about 50% of you have practice playing this game, boys, because I would like to think that my sister and I had far superior play when we were kids. Am I right, ladies? Like, we made up whole skits and songs and worlds for our dolls. Maybe it's because I've never been a little boy. I don't understand the appeal of the stick raw game. But you know what? I watch these kids out there, and even though I think their game is dumb, I watch them playing, and it strikes me that these two boys, and really children in general, have this magical ability to just lose themselves in play or adventure, even if it's totally made up. And I wonder sometimes when I watch them, when do we lose the inclination to do that? We also live across the street from a park, which is filled with families in the afternoons and on weekends. And every once in a while, you'll see a family, making their way down the manicured pathway through the park, hand in hand, and all of a sudden, all forward progress stops on a dime because the 2-year-old needs to inspect this bug that she has seen on the sidewalk, and there's nothing else that can happen until she's finished with that. Kids have this other magical ability to just be captivated by stuff. Just to drop everything, stop everything, just to look at something for a minute. And I wonder sometimes, when do we lose the inclination to do that? And yet I think that that is something that I desperately need in my life. So I want to tell you about a circumstance where that sort of experience found its way to me. Some of you here know a little bit about my personal story, and that about 10 years ago, I went through some pretty major life transitions, the most major of which was that I was divorced from the guy that I've been married to for all of my 20s. Around that same period of time in my professional life, a band that I had been in for 8 years disbanded, and I started doing my solo music for the first time. And also in that same period of time, I moved myself from Northern California, where I'd spent my entire life, down to Los Angeles alone, a city in which at that time I did not know a single living soul. It was just me versus LA. What's up? And if you'd known me back then, you would know that all of these very solitary activities were very much out of my comfort zone. I was the kind of person who didn't want to be by herself for any reason at any time. And so when it came time for me to go out on my first solo music tour, I was terrified. And I wasn't scared for my safety, although judging from the number of times that she called me on my cell phone, I'm fairly certain that my mother was scared for my safety as I got into my car to drive around the country by myself. What I was scared about was crawling into that car with just myself and just my thoughts for thousands of miles. And I realize now as I look back on it that I was really getting into that car with a stranger. I was so very much in the throes of trying to figure out who I am, and I didn't have much of a clue. So it terrified me to get into that car. So I did all the things that you do when you're trying to pass the time. Driving, I called every single person whose number was stored in my cell phone, and I talked with them as long as they would each talk with me. Listened to every CD that I had brought in my fat CD wallet that we all had 10 years ago, right? You guys, I learned that when you're driving in the middle of nowhere, America, like between the cities, the radio stations, they start over here somewhere around Fire and Brimstone Preacher, and they end somewhere over here around local high school sports talk radio. And so I just left the radio off. But then after I ran out all of those options, I just rode in silence for like thousands and thousands of miles. Pure, uninterrupted silence. And I totally surprised myself because I loved it. I just had an opportunity to be still and to look and listen and to reckon with my life, with all the choices that I had made, and with all the choices that were laid out in front of me. And I had the chance to dream and discover what it is that sets my heart on fire. And that is an absolutely irreplaceable and precious time in my life. I can't tell you how grateful I am for the fact that nowadays I get to travel around with Jamie, that every day I'm with the love of my life and that we're creating this thing together. It's the best thing ever. But if I could go back in time and bring him along on those first trips, I would never do it because that time is too precious to me. It was on one of those first solo trips when I was driving in the Midwest that I discovered this phenomenon that I didn't have growing up in California, where it can be a perfectly beautiful, blue sky, sunny summer day, and then out of absolutely nowhere, these impossibly huge thunderclouds can collect and then just drench everything. As I'm playing this next song, will you imagine that impossibly huge thundercloud collecting? And then will you also imagine that there's a place in the center of that swirling, scary storm where you are? And there's nothing else there but silence. This is the stillness. Storm out of nowhere, stalled out, pulled over. Where was I going anyway? Where was I going anyway? Small voice from the corner hollers in the thunder. Whatever weighs on you can wait. Why don't you come sit and stay right here in the downpour? The stillness is an uproar, and it's calling out, calling out. The water rushes over. I breathe in to come closer to the stillness now, calling out to me. Late last summer, four-leaf clover. Was it a secret wish I made? me calling for the rain. Now I'm here in the downpour. The stillness is an uproar, and it's calling out, calling out. The water rushes over. I breathe in, coming closer to the stillness now, calling out to me. Been caught upstream in a trance routine. It's been waiting for me. The old whisper now collected in clouds washes me till I'm clean. Here in the downpour, the stillness is an uproar, and it's calling out, calling out. The water rushes over. I breathe in, coming closer to the stillness now, calling out to me. Alone, staring at the door, forces pull behind you. It's hard to step out anymore, no matter how you try to. But we need you to shine the light that only you can shine. It's a dark night, and some lost souls start gazing for a sign. And with your light, you complete our constellation. Fear says that giving up is easier than feeling. Please hear this, you are enough. Hold it close, believe it. Oh, 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 oh. 'Cause we need you to shine the light that only you can shine. You guys, it has been such a pleasure for me to share this space with you today. Thank you for bringing yourselves here and for bringing your open hearts with you. This has been really wonderful. This is going to be my last song. Before I was a musician, I was a biology major at the University of San Francisco. I have a degree in biology, but whoops, mom and dad, I didn't become a doctor. But I'm still very much a science nerd, and one of my favorite things to do before I go to sleep at night, I like to scroll through my Twitter feed. And I know you're not supposed to look at your phone in bed, you guys, but I do it anyway. And I follow a couple of accounts that post like pop science articles. And I love reading those before I go to sleep because they just get my imagination going. And was there anyone else here as excited as I was in July when Juno entered the orbit of Jupiter? Anyone else? Yes? Okay. There is nothing more joyous than a room full of NASA engineers cheering and crying. There's just not, right? I love reading about all the advancements they're making in immunotherapy treatments for cancer. It's phenomenal, the stuff they're learning how to do. But now, several months ago, I was reading about the Large Hadron Collider, the LHC, which is this facility that they built near Geneva, Switzerland. And it is a 17-mile-long track that they built underground, around which they shoot subatomic particles at breakneck speeds, with the purpose of making those particles collide into each other at the other end of the track. Basically, the science experiments they're doing are like, hey, what happens when we smash some stuff together, right? But they're learning it raw, exactly. Exactly. They're learning some amazing things at this facility. They're learning so much about how our universe is put together. It's just opening up a whole new universe of possibilities, the things they're gonna get to learn at this facility in the years to come. It's really, really exciting stuff. So I was reading about this a few months ago and about how when those particles start out on the track, they each start out as their own entity. And they make their way around the track, and in the moment that they collide into one another, something brand new is created. They change each other upon impact. And I think that people are like that too. We're all going about our lives at breakneck speeds. And every once in a while, we have an opportunity to collide into each other's lives. And I think that when we do that with open hearts, we change each other. And we create a whole new universe of possibilities. So I want to offer this last song tonight as my thank you to all of you for being here tonight and for colliding into my life. This is Particle Collision. What comes after this? Can a night be carried with us? Beyond the hour the stars go out. Will my ears forget little bit by little bit, like a Doppler effect, how magic sounds? there's a piece of you in the figure of the truth that has made itself a home in me. And even if we never meet again on earth, there's a virgin universe conceived. A particle collision. Now I'm a different person. I walk with higher vision away from here.
Shannon Curtis, everybody. One more big hand. Thank you so much.